I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. That has to be, in my opinion, Reed, the scariest words in the English language. I was watching the interview this past week with, and I'm sorry, but I know you'll correct me on the how to pronounce her name, but I didn't get so used to calling her Kami that I then totally have messed up her name, Kamala Harris. And but watching the interview, this past week with Dana Bash and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, I mean, that's all I heard, was, the government, more government. And so and of course, we're going to talk about, that interview quite a bit today. And, and hopefully people on the show, well, many of you probably have watched or read, something about, about the interview. But that's all I heard was just more government. And Reed, as a conservative and as a Republican, that to me is not the answer, for the issues that we're having in America. It's not more government. That is not going to fix the problems that we're facing. It's just adding on, more taxes. We're just going to tax. We're going to tax the rich more. We're going to more taxes for corporations. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's not going to help the economy. It's not going to help the everyday American. Reed, we're going to jump into and talk a lot about that interview. But what was your first thoughts? Your first takeaway from that interview?
Well, the way you opened up this episode just now with the 8 scariest words in the English language, Dan, you scared me so much, I almost jumped out of the studio and ran out the back door. I'm telling you. So don't scare me like that ever again. Good to see you again.
I know you're a big government guy.
Oh,
totally. You
100%.
want more government. You want more.
I want government to be even bigger than that glass of sweet tea you've got sitting there in front of you. Yeah. Well, like your sweet tea is bigger than the computer you have next to you. That's hilarious. Right. Simply put, Dan, it was utterly dreadful. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about expanding government in this way, that way, so on and so forth. But for the most part, I felt like I was just hearing a series of banal platitudes from Kamala Harris. So just this meaningless, absolute word salads throughout it. Exactly what I expected to hear from Kamala Harris going into it. It was intriguing to me to see how Dana Bash was walking this sort of tightrope that I was noticing there, because think about it. Try to imagine, if you will, that you're Dana Bash, thank heaven you're not, but imagine that you're Dana Bash, you work for CNN, you can't push Kamala Harris too hard or you're going to blacklist yourself among all your friends, all your coworkers, your entire industry, but you can't push Kamala Harris too little or everyone else is going to be similarly mad at you for not ostensibly doing your job. So what I thought was fascinating there was that obviously Dana Bash was just gushing over Kamala Harris. She was, just infatuated with every little stupid thing that came out of Kamala Harris's mouth. But it was Tim Walz who was the punching bag throughout all of this, right? Tim Walz was the person who got most of the difficult questions, or actually the only really difficult questions. Of course, Dana Bash did push Walz a little bit on his stolen valor, which luckily we had the great Colonel Rob Maness on this show to talk about several weeks ago. But it was interesting to see how Dana Bash was navigating, was walking this tightrope that she was on, being the interviewer and that just awful performance. But it was a lot of just insane expansion of government. It was very insightful to see Kamala Harris talking about fracking once again. I don't think this woman knows what fracking is. I don't think she can define it. And that she's gone back and forth on this so many times. It makes me believe that she doesn't have a real position on the issue of fracking, which is very important in swing states like, for example, Pennsylvania. I think that she's a person who's going to say whatever she needs to say in order to gain votes or to gain applause in whatever specific situation that she happens to be in. And that was made manifest. There was another part of it that made my skin crawl, man. Whenever Dana asked Kamala Harris, what was it like? What was it? What happened whenever Joe Biden called you to announce that he was dropping out? And she said, well, I didn't really think about myself, to be honest. I was, I was worried about him, to be honest. She said, to be honest, 2 different times. That was a dead giveaway to me that she didn't believe in anything that she was saying in that moment. It was dreadful. I think that this election, among many other things, is an IQ test. Sorry, but like if you're dumb enough to fall for Kamala Harris at this point, or especially her running mate Tim Walz, I have nothing else to tell you. I feel sorry for you. Bless your heart, as we like to say. in the South. But man, it was a circus. I mean, how much else can you say about it?
So there's 7 things that I want to talk about on Harris. Some things that Kamala Harris said. There's 7 different issues, and then there's 7 different issues from Tim Walz that I want to talk about. And you already mentioned one, fracking. And so let's just jump right into talk about fracking. First, I want to make sure that everybody understands what fracking is. Most people don't understand what fracking, truly is. And so fracking, and I'm just going to read some things that I wrote down here to make it easy, but fracking is a method used to extract oil and natural gas from deep underground. And so that we actually have a company here local I say local, they're over in Pearl River County here in Mississippi, that they produce, I think they're the number 1 or number 2 producer in the world for sand whenever it comes to fracking, whenever it comes to sand for fracking. And so what happens is it involves injecting a high pressure mixture of water and sand and chemicals into rock formations. And what happens is whenever it forces that down and it brings the oil and the natural gas, it brings it up. And so into a well, and then we can pump it and they can extract it, from the ground. And so that's what fracking is. And so anytime that Kamala Harris is talking about, fracking, she wants to ban fracking. What she is really talking about is she's against, this extraction of oil and gas from deep in the ground, because that's where the oil and the gas, that's where it comes from. And so that's really what she's against. And so that's why a lot of times we say drill, baby, drill. I mean, we're for drilling. Like, we're for going after the oil, we're for going after the natural gas, but Kamala Harris and the left, they want to ban the fracking because they are pushing this Green New Energy deal is what they're really after. They want everyone going electric. And let me just say this, Reed, that the grid, the electrical grid in the United States of America cannot handle everyone going electric.
Right.
It can't, matter of fact, in some parts of the nation, it can barely handle what's on the grid right now. I mean, it can barely handle. In Texas, just maybe a year or 2 ago, maybe 2 years ago now, they had that major ice storm. Texas was, they was just 15, 20 minutes away, and you could do your own research on this, but they were 15, 20 minutes away from Texas going all black and not having power. And so our grid is not up to par what we might want to think it is. And so it definitely cannot handle everyone going electric. Could you imagine? Adding 30 million cars, and there's more cars than that, but just say you're going to take 30 million vehicles and add them to the grid. Our electrical grid cannot handle that. And so whenever you hear Kamala Harris and you hear Joe Biden and you hear Tim Walz or Nancy Pelosi or any of those people talking about, we want to get rid of fracking. We want to get rid of, going after, we want to shut down the pipeline. We want to do all of these things. What they're really saying is, they want to go all electric, and they want to get away from, gas, and they want to get away from all of these type of things. And America, we can't do that. And so I am drill, baby, drill. That's where I'm at. I'm all about drilling and going after the oil and going after the natural gas and going after these type of things. And so Harris, but another key issue with this whole fracking thing with Harris was back in 2019. She was wanting to ban fracking. Now she's running for president. Now it is, I don't want to ban fracking. She keeps flip-flopping.
Do you think that people in states like Pennsylvania can see through that? Because I'm actually inclined to think that they can.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can see through what she's doing here.
Yeah, I hope that they can. And I hope that the American people can see, that she is flip-flopping, on the issues of fracking and many other things that we're going to talk about, today. And so, and then they want to try to say, well, we have to ban fracking because of environmental. It's harming the environment. Listen, whenever you look at the carbons and you look at everything, that's happening and what fracking produces, and whenever you look at, whenever you look at the environment, the United States of America, if you want to really talk about harming the environment, unless you get China, and unless you get India and some of these other countries on board with some of this stuff that they're pushing, we're just kind of, I hate to use this terminology, but it's just kind of what it is spitting in the wind. There's no way, that you're going to be able to get a handle on these things that the left is pushing. Basically, what they're trying to do, in my opinion, they just want control. They want control.
Yes.
It's not about the Green New Deal. It's not about banning the fracking. They could give a rip about the environment. If they cared about the environment, they'd quit flying around on their private jets. They would quit, doing all those type of things. If they was really for, they wouldn't build their $1 million houses and they wouldn't be driving their very expensive, many of them, their gas or diesel vehicles. If they was really for, the environment. No, it's just they want to control you. They want to act like they're so smart and they have so much wisdom and they want to pretend that they love Mother Earth, and that they're in love with the environment and that they're out to protect your children. No, they want to control you. They want to control your children. That's what this is all about. It's not about necessarily the Green New Deal. It's not about, going electric. It's about control. They want control. And that's what the government wants. Unfortunately, on the left is you have many people that they want to control. They want to control your everyday life. They want to control just more than humans. They want to control cows. They want to control how much, and I don't even like talking about this kind of stuff on the air, but they want to control how much they go to the bathroom. It's ludicrous at some of the things. They're trying to ban gas stoves. Why are they trying to do all these things? Control.
Yep.
They want to control you. They want to control, just like they do with the news media. You mentioned Dana Bash. They want to control the narrative of the news. They want to control everything. They want to control your children's education. They want to control what your children are learning in school. They want to control what kind of vehicles you drive. They want to control what kind of house you live in. They want to control everything about your life. They want to control you. And that's not the direction that I want to go. I don't want a president that is looking for more control. I want a president that's willing to cut red tape. I want a president that's willing to give and allow, I hate to use those terms because they should be giving or allowing more freedom. But that's what we need, essentially. We need somebody that'll just get out of the way. Read, whenever you look at freedom and you look at liberty, just pretend that this circle is the liberty in America, right? Just pretend that this circle is liberty. What the left is proposing is they're proposing their ideology, their policy does this to liberty. It shrinkens our liberty. But whenever you elect someone that wants to cut red tape and you elect someone that wants to get government out of the way, what happens is we don't retract, we don't shrink our liberties, but they expand our liberties, expand even more than what they are today. And so whenever you start hearing government talk about banning things, banning fracking, or banning certain issues, what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to shrink our liberty. They want to take the control away from the people, and they want to take it for themselves. When you go back and look at history, read, why did George Washington not become king?
Because he believed in liberty, right? And because he saw very clearly what monarchy led to, right? Which was exactly what we rebelled against.
George Washington, let me ask you this question. Could he have been king?
Yes. If he'd wanted to, yes.
George Washington could have been king. He could have been King Washington. He could have been president as long as he wanted. But George Washington, on the steps of the Capitol, he gave the sword of liberty back to the people. That's what he did. He said, I'm going to go back home. I'm going to go back to Mount Vernon. I'm going to go back home and live out the rest of my days. And I'm giving the sword back to the people. That's what we need in government. We don't need people in government to go there and start. We don't need more programs. We don't need more departments. We got so many departments in Mississippi and in D.C. We got departments. You want a department. We're just giving everybody departments. We need to cut departments. We need to cut the red tape. And what we have essentially in government, unfortunately, on both sides, in many aspects on both sides, is men and women who are trying to grow government. They're trying to expand the liberty of government and shrink the liberty of people. As government grows, your liberty shrinks. As the expansion of government happens, the expansion of our liberty decreases. And so that's why we need to elect men and women who wants to take government and not grow it, but shrink it.
We intend government to be the safeguard of liberty, but more often than not, it becomes the negation of liberty instead.
Correct. Very well said. And unfortunately, that's what happens if you elect people like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. You have,
and it often comes under the pretext of good intentions, right? So with all the jargon and all the propaganda that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, mostly Kamala Harris, Walz actually did a surprisingly small amount of talking throughout that performance. But it's always dressed with the best of intentions, right? They'll never come out and say the truth, which is that they want control. They'll never say the quiet part out loud because all their friends would be mad at them if they did that. But they always dress it up with the best of intentions. I heard a lot of that throughout that entire ordeal, whatever we want to call it, there with CNN, and it was all staged. If you remember, it was all pre-taped. First off, they were never going to let Kamala Harris, even with or without Tim Walz, in front of a camera live. That was not going to happen because that would have been a complete and total clown show. They know that. So it was pre-taped, and then it was cut down to about 18 minutes. And then they had Tim Walz come in and sit next to her the entire time. I mean, what about Kamala Harris having to go in there with Tim Walz essentially holding her hand the entire time screams girl boss or Soleil Queen? It doesn't, right? Well, going back to your point about liberty, you were saying a lot of great things there. It's always done with the best of intentions. They always seem to be so altruistic in their language, but altruism is just a pretext for tyranny every single time.
Yeah, Michael Watson, Secretary of State in Mississippi, he has a part of the Secretary of State's office, he has a thing called cutting the red tape. And one thing that he's been trying to do as Secretary of State is go in and cut as much red tape as possible for businesses. And so that's the kind of men and women that I want in office, is men and women who look at it and say, okay, we need the government out of the way. We need to get as much government overreach. We need to cut the tentacles of government as much as we possibly can, so men and women can start businesses, so men and women can raise their families, so men and women can have liberty. They can have freedom. Let's move on to the next thing. We talked about fracking. Let's talk about immigration. This has to be, in my opinion, the funniest, because now Kamala Harris is for building a wall. Now she is wanting a wall. Why do you think, Reed, she wants a wall all of a sudden?
Because she doesn't, first off. She doesn't.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
She's pretending like she wants a wall because she realizes it's popular, because she realizes it's where the vast majority of Americans, including those key independents and moderates in the middle, is what they want, because it's common sense policy, and because people are sick and tired of seeing other Americans get killed, get raped, get brutalized in all sorts of other ways by illegal migrants who don't need to be here. So a good friend of mine, TJ Roberts up in Kentucky, you got to look this guy up if you can. He put out a really good Facebook post a couple days ago. He said the crime rate among illegal immigrants is 100%. Think about that. That's good, isn't it?
It is. That's a fact.
That is a
100%.
So it's 100% fact, right? I have an interesting theory that I've shared with a couple of other friends of ours about why Kamala Harris was made border czar in the first place. Let me know if you think this is totally wrong, but is this a little bit of a hypothesis of mine, if you will? So you might remember back during the Democratic debates before Biden was officially made the nominee, there was Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and several other candidates on the stage together. And she accused Joe Biden to his face of being a racist, of being a segregationist, right? Of supporting segregated buses. Fast forward, she becomes his vice president. I actually think that maybe Joe Biden named Kamala Harris the border czar in order to give her the most unfixable situation so that it would tarnish her record indefinitely, so that it would be a forever black stain on her record, like I said, for all time. That's kind of what I think was what's happening. I mean, Joe Biden said, okay, I don't like what you said about me. I don't like the fact that you called me a racist in front of the entire world last year, so I've got payback for you. I'm going to attach the most unfixable issue of all of them to you and to your legacy for all time and make it more difficult for you to become president one day. Just a hypothesis of mine, maybe it's wrong, but I'm kind of willing to bank on it.
It's an interesting take. I haven't thought of that. And so that is definitely an interesting take. And, but whenever you look at, Kamala Harris, and now she wants a wall, and she wants we have to build this wall. But here's what scares me even more about Kamala Harris and this group, to the left, the Democrats, is that they want to, give everybody, in order to fix immigration, we're just going to make everybody a citizen. That is their way of fixing it all. is that, okay, you came over here illegal. We have 10 million people here illegal. We're just going to make you all citizens. There's a couple things with that. First, when you do the census, in 2030, there's going to be another census done. We had one in 2020. Every 10 years, we do a census. Whenever they do the census, they're not just counting legal citizens of America. They're counting every single person that is here. And so they count, like whenever they come to Mississippi, we have 3 million people. Say 10 million of them are illegal immigrants. Well, they still get counted on the census. They're still part of those numbers. They base the numbers of the House, the members of Congress, they base that number off of the amount of people that live in that state. And so if California if they grow 650,000, people, or give or take, they're going to get another representative in D.C. If that happens in New York, they're going to get another representative in New York.
Well, they have to replace all the native Californians that are leaving California or Texas because of all of California's bad statewide policies.
Absolutely. And so what happens is whenever they go to the polls to vote, now an illegal immigrant, somebody that's here illegally, they are not supposed to vote. They're not supposed to be able to vote. But what happens is whenever you allow all these people to come in, you allow 1 million new people to come to California, they pick up 2 more House seats in Congress. Now what we're going to do is to ensure that those seats are Democrat seats. Now we're going to, all these people that are here illegally, we're just going to make them all a citizen. So now they all get, and I'm not gonna go on here and say that the illegals are not even voting today. I would be, if I was a bet man, I would be a bet man and say that they are voting today. But what they want to do is they want to just make everybody a citizen. So now we're going to ensure that these 10 million people, not only are they getting counted in our census to give us more representation in D.C. from some of these states, but now we're going to make them a citizen. So now we're going to ensure that not only do we get extra representation, but now we're going to ensure that we have Democrats that are going to be there in D.C., part of that new representation. Correct. So that's what's happening.
Correct.
That's what's going on.
That is absolutely correct. And there's actually even more to the story. So when we look at Tim Walz's record as governor of Minnesota, right, he had the driver's licenses for all legislation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whenever you have that writ large nationwide, you've got the legislative foundation to give driver's licenses and IDs to all these illegal immigrants, make them voters for all time. You can't undo that once that's been done. There's even more to it. I have another interesting theory, so strap yourself in for this one. Here's what I think could very well happen if Kamala Harris does take the White House in a couple of months. I hope this doesn't happen. If it does, this is another one of those maybe somewhat black pill scenarios here. Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. could very well become states, okay? The Democrats, they take power. Heaven forbid they have some sort of triumvirate where they control the White House, the U.S. Senate, and the House. They're going to abolish the filibuster. They're going to make it a lot easier to ram through these big government pieces of legislation like what you're talking about here, like what we've been talking about on previous episodes of God and Country. Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. become states. That's 4 new U.S. Senate seats that are presumably all 4 going to be Democrat. That means the Democrats have the U.S. Senate locked down indefinitely. And if there's something that I think the last 4 years have shown us, the Democrats are coming to win. The left, they're not coming to play around. They're not coming here to negotiate power with the right and take just half the power. No, that's not what's going on here. They're coming here to win. If you don't think that these people will make Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. U.S. states with 2 guaranteed Democrat U.S. senators from those states and a forever lock on the U.S. Senate, you're out of your mind. You're just not paying attention if you think that they won't do that. So I bring that up because you're talking about the scenario where the Democrats maybe get an edge up in the House of Representatives through unchecked illegal immigration, flooding select states with illegal immigrants in order to boost the population of those states, to get those states more House seats. I'm also looking at the other chamber of Congress, the U.S. Senate, and I do see a scenario where we get 52 U.S. states here in the near future, and I mean, almost no chance of Republicans ever taking the Senate again, but without even more extreme compromises on areas of policy, like trying to move further to the left to appeal to the new to these new voting blocks.
You know, you bring up some interesting points, and one reason why the Democrat Party can do that is because they stay unified. At the end of the day, they're going to come back together and have unity. They're going to, yes, they're going to have their public discourse. Yes, they're going to, have their disagreements. Yes, they're going to have their debates. But at the end of the day, they're going to stay unified. They're going to rally behind whatever cause that they have, and they're going to push that forward. The Republican Party, and I have been guilty of this, in the past, and whenever it comes to, I am all about debate. I am for debate. I am for, if somebody wants to sit down and have a debate on certain issues, I am willing to. I'm for it. I'm okay with having public discourse. Whenever we have our elections, and whenever we lose, whenever you take, whether it's the to the left of the Republican Party or to the real strong conservatives of the Republican Party, whenever we have a hard time coming together, we have a hard time, coming together to rally behind the person that wins. We want to continue to bash and continue to fight all throughout, long after the primary's over and continue. And I have been guilty of that, but the Democrat Party, they have their primary. When their primary is over, they come together and they begin to push forward, to get their agenda passed, not the Republican Party. Many people, and I'm just going to say this, and some people might not like it, but that's fine. Unfortunately, many times we take our ball and go home. We say, well, if my guy lost, well, then I'm just going to not be involved anymore. Well, that can't be our attitude. There is still a lot of good policy that we could fight for and that we could push forward on if we stay engaged and stay involved. You know how the Democrat Party is going to get those two states, and I do see that coming down the road, is that they're going to stay together. They're going to keep pushing. They're going to keep fighting because they know at the end of the day that they will get what they want if they just keep pushing and keep fighting. Because the Republican Party, we stay so fractured. We have our primary, and we're very fractured in our primary, and I think that's okay, and I think that's good. I think it's good to have debate. It's good to have good policy debates, and it's good to have good candidate debates. I love all of those things. But when the primary is over, when the primary is done, now we have to get geared toward the election in November. And we have to win that election. And then once that election is over, then we can begin to have our policy debate. We can begin to have our debate on policy. And so I know a lot of people, in Mississippi, we had our elections and we have our primaries and we have the people that we're pushing for and the people that we're fighting for, and we should. And then whenever that's over, people are now hoping that some of these people lose, because, they don't align with them on every issue. Well, what do you want? You want the Democrats to win? I think
some of them actually do.
There are some people that they're bashing Donald Trump every single day on social media. Every day I see them bashing Donald Trump. And I ask them the question. I say, so what do you want, the alternative?
Yes. Yeah, no, Dan, I actually think that these people do. Like, if you think that if you claim to be on the right and your top priority for whatever reason is criticizing Donald Trump this late in the election, it's pretty clear to me you want the Democrats to win.
So you want Kamala Harris, who is for open borders. Oh, she might be screaming, build a wall, but that's a bunch of hogwash. She wants open borders. They want to just let everybody come into our country and give everybody citizenship. They want to raise taxes. They want to absolutely devour every bit of freedoms that we have as the working men and women of our great nation. And that's what we're going to allow to come in. People that are just straight up communists, people that are for these drag queens coming in and teaching and talking to our children. These people that are pushing for abortion past 9 months, we're going to make the baby comfortable and then let the mother decide. That's the kind of people that we are going to just sit back and let win because Donald Trump, doesn't align with me on every single issue. And so I'm just going to sit back and whine and cry about it and bash him every single day and hoping that, that Kamala Harris wins. To what end? To what end?
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that MyPillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. MyPillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of MyPillow.
The MyPillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last MyPillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. MyPillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new MyPillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature-regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit MyPillow.com.
Resort.
And I see Republicans doing that all over the place. You know, they come out and they continually to bash. We had our primary. Listen, when we kicked off the primary, my son and I had this debate this morning on the way to school, on the way to Chick-fil-A. We went to Chick-fil-A first. So on the way to Chick-fil-A this morning, we were having this very debate about Donald Trump. And I told Quitman, I said, Quitman, remember back in 2016, he was 9 years old. And he said, yeah, Dad. He goes, I watched every debate with you. And I said, who was you supporting in 2016? He said, Donald Trump. I said, Quitman, who was I supporting in 2016? He said, Ted Cruz. I was supporting Ted Cruz. My son was supporting Quitman. I think the reason why he was supporting Donald Trump was because of Home Alone. And that's, I think because of that. But my point is, I said, Quitman, I said, when Donald Trump became the nominee, who did I support? He said, Donald Trump. He said, Donald Trump. And I said, so right now, who was on the ticket? Donald Trump or Kamala Harris? So who do you want to win? Donald Trump. So then why are Republicans, and this is the question that he asked me, then why are Republicans bashing Donald Trump so much? You know, why are they coming out and attacking Donald Trump? Why are the Mitt Romneys of the world not coming out and endorsing Donald Trump? Why are not the Bushes of the world coming out and endorsing Donald Trump?
Because their loyalty is to so-called special interests like the military-industrial complex and like other bits of the establishment in Washington, D.C., to which Donald Trump is a direct threat. That's why. Right. Their loyalty is not to their party, it's not to their country, it's not to their voters. Whenever it comes, there's a such thing as the Uniparty. Okay, the Uniparty, the John McCain party, it's a very real thing. There's a coalition of Republicans and Democrats who are going to stick together because of a series of common interests, such as in maintaining, fractional reserve banking, maintaining the military-industrial complex, maintaining these foreign wars, maintaining all of these horrible big government policies that have bankrupted our country. They agree on those big picture things, and they're going to stick with each other versus a person in their own party whom they disagree with, like Donald Trump or more populist Republicans like me and you.
And I commend Kennedy for coming out and suspending his campaign and endorsing Donald Trump, because Kennedy is looking at the big picture. You've got to look at the big picture of this. If Kamala Harris wins, boy, this nation, it is going to be tough here in our great nation. And so for Kennedy to suspend his campaign, come out and endorse Donald Trump, look, man, there's not much that I agree with Kennedy on.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I agree with Kennedy on he gave a great speech about health, right? And he gave a great speech. He is totally against mandating vaccines. I mean, he gave a great speech on some of those things. But a lot of the other issues, I don't agree with Kennedy on. But Kennedy and I can agree on this, that this election is much bigger than him. It's much bigger than me. It's much bigger than you. This election is about the future of our country. And if we don't all come together and defeat Kamala Harris, and some people won't because they got their feelings hurt, because they didn't win or because of whatever it is. Listen, you got to put all that aside for the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is for our nation, for your children, for my children. I took a beating from some conservatives because we have Phil Bryant on the show. And I took a beating from some people because of that. But at the end of the day, we got to look at the big picture of Republicans coming together to win elections. I'm not going to sit on my couch and have a pity party because my friends or because certain people that I was working for and trying to help win did not win. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to disengage from the political arena. I'm going to stay engaged. I'm going to fight for what I believe in. I'm going to work for what I believe in, and I'm not going to back down from any of that. And I've get some pressure from different people about, certain things and about, trying to help certain people win. We've got to win, whenever it comes to the Republican Party. We've got to defeat Kamala Harris. And at the end of the day, whenever it comes to our nation, it's much bigger than my feelings. It's much bigger than anyone's feelings. We've got to defeat the party that is going to shove communism down our throat. And if we just sit back on the couch and say, well, my guy didn't win. I was a Marco Rubio supporter and he didn't win, so I'm not going to vote. That's dumb. I was a Ted Cruz supporter and Ted Cruz didn't win, so I'm not going to vote. I'm just going to bash Donald Trump every day. That's dumb. We can't have that. We have to come together and we have to defeat Kamala Harris. And it's all Republicans. And then when that is over, November, December, January, absolutely, let's debate policy.
Exactly. So whenever it comes to Trump, I don't agree with Trump on every single policy area either. But as I've said before, I'm saving that for after we get the man elected. Fingers crossed that we do, right? I'm glad that you brought up Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Because I wanted to take a little bit of time to actually praise him on this show.
Yeah.
Because in previous episodes, you and I have really pampered RFK Jr. because he has some really bad views on a lot of serious policy issues, serious meaning issues that you and I care very much about. But pulling his name out of the race, trying to pull himself off as many ballots in as many states as possible, endorsing Donald Trump, that was remarkable. And one more thing about RFK Jr., that's probably an even bigger picture thing than this particular election. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made it clear. He showed the American people just to what extent our children are sick. Think about it. You and I spend every episode of this show talking about policy. Obviously, that's important, right? But what does it matter what we do about the Federal Reserve or about foreign policy or about the economy if the next generation of children, of the next generation of Americans and generations after them are sick? It's even according to the CDC, about 40% of American kids who are school age, so K through 12, about 40% of those kids have some form of chronic disease. That's insane. That's unheard of, man. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., his candidacy, I think, did a lot to bring an issue to the forefront that I think more people should have cared about. And I regret that in years past, I didn't pay enough attention to this issue, just what kind of health crisis that we have for America's kids, right? And just what kind of long-term, just devastating effects this could have for the next generations of Americans, right? The entire reason we have God and country is because we want to, and really the Midnight Ride Network overall, but the entire reason we're doing this project overall is because we want a better future for Americans who are going to be here after you and I are gone, right? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he was engaging in that same exact fight, but from a very different angle that really had never occurred to me, or maybe hundreds of millions of other Americans, until Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s candidacy. Same thing with Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, I think she's been a phenomenal advocate for a more non-interventionist, for more pro-America, America first foreign policy, we might say. And she did exactly what many Republicans don't have the courage to do. She endorsed Donald Trump across party lines, right? Absolutely remarkable. It says a lot that we have so many Republicans like Mitt Romney and George W. Bush, the Bushes, and all sorts of people who've worked for the Romneys and the Bushes who don't want to endorse Donald Trump, who are refusing to endorse Donald Trump, or they're endorsing Kamala Harris, Meanwhile, we have people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard who are joining this sort of like, all-star Avengers team, as I kind of like to think about it. It shows me that, it's really not about Republican versus Democrat in this particular election, and it's really not overall. It's about those who are trying to do good versus those who are trying to do evil, those who are trying to help the American people in some way, even if they disagree along policy lines and on any number of areas, versus those who are knowingly doing evil and wish to do us harm, wish to exert control over us, as you were putting it several minutes ago. So I welcome the support of RFK Jr. I think that was one of the best things to happen in presidential politics in a very long time. Man, it was great to see that last week. Like, once again, I want to commend RFK Jr. and everybody on his team for doing the right thing.
Reed, this is good versus evil.
Yes,
is what this is. This is good versus evil. It is evil. It is evil. Abortion is evil. Evil. Killing babies is evil. Having drag queens come in and talk to our children is evil. Men running up and down the street naked in front of children is evil.
Endless war, evil.
Endless wars, evil. I mean, that's what these people are pushing for. That's what they want. That's what they're after. And so you talk about chronic illnesses among our children. I read where a lot of that is coming from these vaccines.
Yep.
Some of these vaccines that you go and have your children, pumped full of, you don't even know what's in them. Listen, if you're going to just pump your child full of all of these vaccines, that the government says that we have to do, if you're going to do, at least know what's in them. At least know what you're putting in your children. At least know whenever they take, those needles and they put it in your child's, wherever they pump that, those vaccines in at, whenever they start pumping them full of, these vaccines, at least know what you're pumping into your children. And so I'm like you. I welcome Kennedy. I welcome him and his team and his support. I appreciate them coming over and endorsing, Donald Trump to defeat, Kamala Harris, and really Tulsi Gabbard the same. I appreciate her coming out and endorsing, Donald Trump and supporting Donald Trump. I mean, I know she ran for president against Hillary Clinton, and I know Hillary Clinton hates, Tulsi Gabbard. And but
Kamala Harris doesn't like Tulsi Gabbard either.
Of course not, because Tulsi Gabbard she is absolutely an American first, person. Look at her military service, a fighter pilot. Just the things that she's accomplished in her career. She has an unbelievable resume. Whenever she was running for president, on the Democrat ticket, I was pulling, out of all the people that was running, I was pulling for her, to win, the Democrat nominee. Of course, I don't want the Republican to win overall. But, as you're watching, these Democrats, fight and go back and forth, I was pulling for her. She was the one that, out of all of them, had the most sense. But my point is just simply this. It's good versus evil. And we have to defeat. And let me just say this, because I know that we have Democrats that watch our show, and sometimes I'll take some heat from some of them because of some things that I say. I know that not every Democrat is pro-choice. Right? I know that not every Democrat is for drag queens. I know that not every Democrat is for these dudes running up and down the street naked and all that. I get that. I know that there's a majority of these people on the Democrat side, not a majority, but there are some that are not for all of those things. And I know that on the Republican Party, I know that we have people that are pro-choice. I know that there are people that are pro, these drag queens, so I get it. And so not every Democrat is evil, and not every Republican is good. And so I get that there are some evil even on the Republican side. And that's why, I'm not afraid to call out those people if I know of any of them. Now, in Mississippi, I don't know of any of those type of people in Mississippi that are for drag queens. I don't know of anybody in the Republican Party that's pushing for that mess. I don't know anybody in the Republican Party in Mississippi that's for abortion, or even in Louisiana that's for abortion. We had a governor in Louisiana that was a Democrat that was pro-life. He was not pro-choice. So I get that not every Democrat is evil. I get that and understand that. But your leader of the Democrat Party is evil. Your leadership on the Democrat Party is evil. Your leader of the Democrat Party was pushing for tampons in boys' bathrooms. Your leader, Tim Walz. That's a fact. He was pushing for tampons in boys' bathrooms. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist. but I know the difference between a male and a female. And I know that no male will ever experience some of the things that ladies have to experience whenever it comes to certain things that happen in a lady's body. My wife and I've been married for 18 years, and our bodies are very much different. And I know we're not going to have a class here on the physical body, but our bodies are very much different. I have never needed certain things that my wife at some certain times needs.
You've never needed a tampon?
Never have. And I never have. And let me just say this. Every single boy in Minnesota, they've never needed one either. And they haven't needed one either. But Tim Watts is going to put tampons on boys. Listen, that's evil. That's evil. You know, the party of, we're going to let a baby, at least they said they're going to make the baby comfortable. And then we're going to kill it. I mean, that is downright.
That's demonic.
Demonic.
Yep.
Unbelievable. That is the leader of the Democrat Party. If I was a Democrat and I was a Christian and I'm pro-life and I'm pro all these things, I'm leaving the Democrat Party. I just become an independent. I just won't be anything. I just won't be a Democrat. I won't be a Republican.
Certainly not a libertarian.
Absolutely not.
Right.
And I'm just going to be whatever. I'm not going to be anything. I'm going to be a non-denominational or non-party citizen is what I'm going to be. I'm not going to be a Republican. I'm not going to be independent. I'm not going to be a libertarian. I'm not going to be a Democrat. I'm going to be an independent.
But to your overall point, it's really not about party at the end of the day. Obviously, the Republican Party is our most effective vehicle for exactly at least some degree of change on certainly the state level and to a lesser extent, unfortunately, the federal level. There is another thing that this election represents that I don't think that we're talking about enough, and that is whenever it comes to Donald Trump, I think this is quite literally a matter of his life and death. Think about the stakes for Donald Trump if he loses this election. He almost certainly goes to prison. It is very difficult for me to imagine that all the charges against him are going to be dropped if he loses, and that the enemy is just going to let him disappear quietly into retirement. That's not going to happen. I think that whenever it comes to the outcome of this election, I think that there might be an argument to be made that Donald Trump's very life hangs in the balance here. And that is, I'm not trying to just add an extra sense of drama or anything like that, but I don't think we think about that quite enough, is that this man's life is on the line. And if we become a society of people, if we become a society that punishes people for trying to do good, for trying to speak truth, and I'm not saying Trump is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but the man overall has tried to be a force for good. That much is clear. It was not so clear to me 8, 9, 10 years ago, but it's very much clear to me now. If we punish people who try to do the sort of good in this world that Donald Trump has tried to do, if we punish those people by sending them to prison, perhaps even for the rest of their life, what kind of society are we going to be if we disincentivize fighting for good and fighting for truth with threat of imprisonment?
Yeah. You know, Reed, he was just indicted again.
Yep.
I mean, they are after that man because he has exposed them. I mean, just think about it for a moment. Donald Trump exposed the Democrat Party. Whenever he was debating, I'll never forget, he was debating Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton, they were debating. He remember whenever he said, "Because you'd be in jail," and that was one of my favorite lines of that whole thing. But he was talking about things how Hillary Clinton, you know, was saying that she was going to do and she was going to do this, and or Donald Trump has done this and Donald Trump has done that. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump said to Hillary Clinton, "Well, if you're the reason why, you know, that Hillary Clinton doesn't want to do some of these things is because all of her donors get to enjoy some of these benefits." And he began to expose Hillary Clinton. He began to expose, you know, the Democrat Party for what they truly are.
And he fought the military-industrial complex. Donald Trump broke the hold of neocons and warmongers over the Republican Party. And they will never forgive him for that.
Absolutely.
They will not rest until he's in jail or he's dead.
They will want him to be in jail, and then I don't even want to imagine what happened to Donald Trump if that were to happen. I think there would be so much unrest in this nation. I think there'd be bloodshed, you know, if that were to happen. And so we're in some very rough waters, you know, in our nation. And so it's important that we as Christians and that we as conservatives that we get out and we vote and we get everybody we can out, to vote. There's two other issues that I want to mention briefly. We only got a few minutes left, but gun control. Tim Walz said in the interview last night that we need common sense gun laws to keep our community safe. What he is saying is this, that I want to take control of the type of guns that men and women have here in America. He wants to take away our guns, absolutely. He wants to control that. He wants to control the type of guns that we have. He wants to control the ammo. He wants to control everything. They want control. We don't need more gun laws in America. We have plenty gun laws in America.
We need a lot fewer gun laws.
Absolutely. We don't need more. If anything, they say, well, we're going to keep the guns out of criminals' hands. Really? Really? That's what you're going to do? No.
Criminals don't obey laws. They never have.
What's going to happen is your law-abiding citizens are not going to have guns, and your criminals are going to have guns. That's what's going to happen. And so you're going to find criminals with guns and then law-abiding citizens without guns. And I guess I'll just become a criminal because I'm not giving up my guns. And so it's not how I'm not turning them in. I'm not bringing them in. What little guns? I think I got one gun. I lost all my guns in a boating accident in the Gulf of Mexico. They all sank to the bottom of the Gulf. And so, but my point is, they want to take control of your guns. If they could control your guns, if they could take away your guns, they could control your speech. They control your speech. They can
control every other aspect of your life if they can.
Absolutely. And they already, in other countries, they're already arresting people for things that they post on social media. They're arresting people for memes that they're posting on Facebook.
If you and I were to step foot in the UK, like tomorrow, there's a good chance we might be arrested.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. There's probably a higher likelihood that you and I would be arrested for posting our commentary that we share on God and Country in the UK than in Putin's Russia.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
It's unbelievable at what's happening. And these people want that here. They want to silence every single person like you and I. They want to silence us. They try to silence the churches. And unfortunately, many pastors, we bow down to it. COVID. Don't you think that COVID just wasn't a pre-test? A test of what they can get by with. And they got by with a lot of things that they shouldn't have gotten by with. And a lot of that I put on the backs of the church because the preachers, we are supposed to be the backbone of our communities, and we bent the knee to a lot of this mess that the government was pushing. And I'm thankful for the preachers that didn't. There were some preachers in California that told the governor out there to kick rocks. And I'm thankful for those men that stood. And there was a lot of pastors in a lot of states. In our state, our governor, he did not tell us. He requested, but he did not shut us down. And I appreciate that with our governor. The other issue, not just gun control, but minimum wage. They want to force a higher minimum wage. Reed, let me ask you a question. Will raising the minimum wage lift people out of poverty?
Raising minimum wage is going to cause a lot of people to become unemployed very quickly. That's going to sink a lot of people into poverty.
So I went to Chick-fil-A this morning and to pick up, some food, and I don't know what they make an hour at Chick-fil-A. I have no idea. I know what my son makes an hour, but he works. He's 16 years old, and I'm not sure how much every employee there makes, but I know how much he makes. If they double his wage, if the government comes in and tells Chick-fil-A, you have to raise equipment from, I'm going to use $10 an hour, from $10 an hour to $20 an hour. You're going to have to pay every single employee, you have to double their salary from $10 an hour to $20 an hour. That's what you have to do. So that chicken sandwich combo meal that I truly love, that I pay like $8 for, Reed, is Chick-fil-A going to keep being able to sell that for $8?
It's going to become $16.
Absolutely. It's going to become $16.
And one of either equipment or one of his coworkers is going to lose their job.
Correct. That's exactly what's going to happen. Listen, let me just say this. I am not opposed to Chick-fil-A raising their minimum wage to $20 if that's what Chick-fil-A wants to do. If the owner of Chick-fil-A says, I'm going to pay everybody on my staff $20 an hour, that's what I'm going to
I say go for it.
Absolutely. If he wants to do that.
Hey, when I worked at Chick-fil-A at community college, I would have loved $20 an hour.
So the same thing's going to happen, though. They're going to raise that chicken sandwich combo from $8 to $16. And so that Wendy's down the road is going to get more business. That Five Guys right across the street from Chick-fil-A is going to get more business. That po' boy shop right across the driveway from Chick-fil-A is going to get more business, because now Chick-fil-A is selling sandwiches for $16 instead of $8. So those lines that you see at Chick-fil-A wrapped around 3-4 times, that's going to cease. And the reason is because nobody's going to go pay $16 to $20 for a combo meal.
I might, okay, I'm just being honest. If it's a number one meal from Chick-fil-A, I might still consider $16. I'm being honest.
Well, you're a single young man, and so you could probably afford it. But me,
I'm not single.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You've got a girlfriend now. We need to have her on the show. We need to invite her on the show. Yep. So my point, though, is I have a wife and 5 children. I'm not paying $16 each for a combo meal. But if Chick-fil-A wants to do that, that's Chick-fil-A's business. If Wendy's wants to pay their employees $20 an hour, that's Wendy's business. If Walmart wants to pay their employees $20 an hour, that's Walmart's business. The government does not need to be stepping in and forcing Chick-fil-A's and Walmart's and Wendy's to pay their employers more money. What will happen is you have a lot of people want to come work at Chick-fil-A. You're going to have a lot of people. You're going to have businesses competing against each other for the real good employees. The same whenever it comes to healthcare. The same thing with healthcare. If the government mandates, you have to do these things. You have to provide healthcare for your people. And so now Chick-fil-A, everything is going up again. But our prices are going to rise up again with these chicken sandwiches and these French fries. But if Chick-fil-A says as an incentive, listen, we're going to pay you $15 an hour. We're going to give you health care. We're going to provide you health care. That's an incentive that Chick-fil-A has in order to get really good employees, really good men and women to come work for them. We can offer you something that Wendy's can't offer you. You're letting the market, it's called capitalism, and you're letting the market compete against itself and not the government mandating anything. I want the government out of everything that we can get government out of, and I want to let the free market handle itself.
Don't tread on my Chick-fil-A.
That'd be a great quote.
Yep.
And we
need to make that a flag.
Yeah, make that a flag.
Up right there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't tread on my Chick-fil-A. This tea that I'm drinking right now, Reed, is actually from Chick-fil-A. I bought it this
Somehow I knew that.
I bought it, and that's Chick-fil-A sweet tea. And so, but anyway, I hope you guys watch the interview, this so-called interview with Dana Bash and Tim Walz. Reed, I've enjoyed talking about the interview. I hope people really start paying attention over these next 70 or so days, or right at that 70-day mark, maybe a little less than 70 days, of the most important election of our lifetime. If we as Christians don't get out and vote, we're going to lose. Kamala Harris will become president, and you will see our liberties shrink even further. But if we can elect Donald Trump, I do believe this, that you will see our liberties be, once again, beginning to expand, because we'll begin to get government out of the way. Government needs to be taken out of the picture as much as possible in a lot of these issues.
Absolutely.
I want to encourage you to watch the debate. Go back and watch, not the debate, but go back and watch the interview with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and Dana Bash. It was very interesting. And you can nitpick it and look at it and take apart, all of the things that they're wanting to add and all the things that they're wanting to do. And you'll just see just how evil some of these people are on that side. As Christians, we have to engage. As Christians, we have to be involved. We have to do everything that we can to make sure people are registered to vote, and then make sure that people get out to vote. Reed, as I say in every ending of every show, thank you. I've enjoyed it. Always enjoy talking on God and country. Always enjoy talking about policy and different ideas and different things, that we believe in.
You got me hungry for Chick-fil-A again, man.
Good. Well, Chick-fil-A's open, and it's not far from here. It's 12 minutes from my house. You can be at a Chick-fil-A, and so you can enjoy a Chick-fil-A sandwich. If you enjoyed this show, I want to encourage you to share it. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching it on Substack, if you're watching it on YouTube, if you're watching it on X, share, retweet, copy the link, send it out to your family and friends. It helps as far as getting around the algorithm. Social media does not like podcasts and shows like God and Country. Why? Because we're Christian, because we're conservative. And because of those things, they want to hurt our algorithm. They don't want this show to be watched. So if you can help us by sharing, we'd appreciate it very much. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and God bless the great United States of America.
Hey guys, it's Reed here. I don't say this about a lot of people, but I have to say Mike Lindell is a real patriot. And we could not be more thankful to him and MyPillow for sponsoring today's episode of God and Country. Remember, go to MyPillow.com and save huge on a great night of sleep by entering the promo code Midnight Ride. Thanks.